Hi everyone, it's Mingzi again. So far, the maps we've been looking at gave us a general understanding on voting behaviors and how that translated to the results we saw in 2018 election. So let's continue our election talk and identify some of the key battlegrounds for the 2020 election. So to do that, we gotta look at maps again. So here I have a map comparing the winners and the runner-up for the 2018 election. And like I mentioned before, the more concentrated the political party is, the more confident and larger their victory was for that race within that electoral district. Now I want to draw your attention to the colors in the runner-up map here. There seems to be more colors involved. It just means that a lot more political parties were battling with each other within that electoral district. Now we're just looking at the first layer of an onion. There's a lot more to look at. Let's take a look at another map. So this is a map of four maps showing the winners and the runner-up and third and fourth place of the 2018 election. And you can see here what used to be a liberal and progressive party kind of battlegrounds has turned into more of a liberal party battleground between the Green Party and the Progressive Conservative Party battleground with the People's Alliance Party. As you can see, that has been more of that race here. What's also interesting to see is that the NDP has kind of lost its momentum and has gone to more of a fourth place candidate. And so we can see a lot more detail in terms of how votes are being split between these electoral districts. Now, there are two ridings I want to draw your attention to that I consider it to be a battleground and a very tight race. The first one is the Southwest Miramichi Bay Divine. Now, you can see that the Progressive Conservative won over the People's Alliance Party by only 0.4%. Now, what that means in votes, it means that Progressive Conservative won by 35 votes over the People's Alliance. So it was a very tight race. Who knew what those, 35 votes would have caused or changed the outcome into? Something to notice is that the this electoral district is within the center of the New Brunswick region. And if we take a look at the unemployment rate for that electoral district here, so that's this line over here, there seems to be a high unemployment rate, so something to keep in mind. And taking a look at the built up, majority of the land here are made out of the rural makeup in terms of lands. Now, if we look at the age group, it seems like baby boomers are the dominant age group within this area. And for language, majority of the people here speak English and a bit of the bit of bilingual speakers along the coast. So knowing these demographic, we kind of have an understanding of what kind of people are living in there. And if we cross-reference it to People's Alliance or the Progressive Conservative platform, might be interesting to see what those results can be. Now, remember how I said that there were a bit of multilingual speakers here? It could have been contributed from liberal voters. Those 22.8% liberal voters might have lived somewhere along there. So knowing these demographics and knowing the election splits from the past election, it's kind of going, it's interesting, right? Because now I want to see what the election is or the result is for 2020. So this is kind of like a what you call a swing state or a swing electoral district where potentially People's Alliance or Progressive Conservative might win for the upcoming election. So a very tight battleground in terms of election race there. Another battleground that is identified or I have identified is this here. So let's let's try not to butcher this pronunciation. Memramcook Tentramar. So this electoral district here, um, it was a tight race between the Green Party and the Liberal Party, and you can see that the Green Party won by only 0.1%, which translates to 11 votes. So that's a very, very tight race. And this here is actually very interesting if we take a look at the unemployment rate in that area. The unemployment rate tends to be hovering or on average around the 10 to 16% mark. If and lower, a bit lower here. But if we look at the built up, we can see that closer to Moncton, it's more urban built up, whereas closer to the coast here is more rural. Now looking at the age group, baby boomers tends to dominate the coast area, whereas more around the 40 to 58 years of age tends to dominate closer to Moncton area. And looking at language, we can see that along the coast are mainly English speaking people, whereas closer to Moncton, it's a bilingual, so a mixture of French and English speaking uh, dominancy of language. Now let's take a look at a different map where we look at the voter tendency. So we're going to look at the polling district and how within each polling district, which remember is a smaller area of geography, how they voted. And so I ran a tool to check the hot spot and cold spot of each of the political parties. So the banner here, the color here represents the party, and the red means that there's a high likelihood of people voting for that party, and blue just means it's a cold area. There's not much activity for that party. So if we zoom into that area here, we can see a very interesting outline that resembles other demographic maps we've been seeing. So here, red here, these polling districts here are more likely to vote Liberal, whereas the area along the coast tends to vote for Green. So I wonder if that rings a bell for anyone, but if we look at the language, that line divides between bilingual and English speaker, kind of correlates to that likelihood of Green voters and Liberal voters divide. So that's interesting to see, right? If you take a look at age, it kind of correlates to that divide, the split between what area is dominantly baby boomers and a bit younger population closer to the Moncton city. So looking at the urban and rural makeup, you can also see that divide being visualized, like displayed here. So that's very cool correlation. Um, I mean, I'll provide the link of these story maps to you so you can have a closer, in-depth look at these different electoral districts. So let's summarize what we've learned in this video. So in this video, we took a look at some 2018 tight races and determined what 2020 would look like and where the battlegrounds would be. We also applied some demographic analysis to see which party may or may not win for the 2020 election. Now keep in mind, I didn't make any predictions on what party might win. Also, with the demographic data we were seeing, those were based on 2019, and a lot has changed since 2019. I mean, I'm recording from home, so a lot has changed. So in the next video, ignoring the fact that we are in a pandemic, we're going to look at some 2019 demographics, run it through a tool, and see what the prediction of which party may win for the 2020 election. So stay tuned for the last video.